A millionaire hypochondriac, a fatal test result, and a runaway Texas heiress. Welcome everyone. This week we're going back to 1939 for a romantic comedy film called Never Say Die, starring Martha Raye, Bob Hope, and Andy Devine. And this is directed by Elliot Nugent. I hope you enjoyed this week's story. It starts at the health spa Bad Gaswasser, nestled beneath the snow-clad Alps. It is world famous for the curative values of its natural mineral springs, or so they say. Staying at the Cure Hotel Edelweiss is multi-millionaire hypochondriac John Kidley, played by Bob Hope, a family famous for their kidney beans and $20 million bucks. Complaining of a pain in his sacroiliac and other ailments, Kidley has been waiting for the test results from Dr. Schmidt. Kidley's butler Jeepers notices from the window that Juno Marco, a fiancé Kidley would like to forget, just arrived from San Moritz. Having 20 million reasons for being in love with Kidley, Juno's last two husbands passed away quite suddenly. One was accidentally shot and the other fell, or was pushed, off the mountain Matterhorn, never to be found. Next, Jeepers picks up Kidley's acidity test results from the druggist, but is given the results from a dog named Kipper. At Dr. Smith's office, Kidley is told he has 162 acidity, 3 times normal, the acidity of a dog, giving him 1 month to live. While riding through the park, Kidley and Jeepers hear the young Texas heiress Mickey Hawkins, played by Martha Raye, arguing with her father Jasper. Mickey has been betrothed to the fortune-hunting Prince Smirnoff, but is in love with Henry Munch, played by Andy Devine, a bus driver from back home. Running away and wanting to end it all, Mickey jumps into a pond, only to be saved by Kidley. Gallant, yes, but he can't swim. Recovering, they get a call from Juno Marco, upset and waiting at the altar. To solve both problems, Kidley suggests that Mickey and he get married, planning on leaving her his fortune, so she can marry Munch after he's gone. Getting married under the radar, Smirnoff and Marco soon find out and follow, and an upset Munch becomes their chaperone on their honeymoon. They all check into the Ingleboard Haas, Mr. and Mrs. John Kidley, and her fiancé, Henry Munch. Sounds cozy. So, does Kidley fall in love with Mickey and want to stay married? Does an upset Prince Smirnoff demand a duel at dawn? Or does Olympic firearm champion Marco prove beneficial? Released April 14, 1939 in the U.S., our story is based on a play of the same name title by William H. Post and William Collier Sr., which ran on Broadway for 152 performances in 1912. The Post-Collier play was also adapted in 1924 as a silent film of the same name. This film won 2 Photoplay Awards, a 1939 win for Best Pictures of the Month, and for Best Performances of the Month for Bob Hope. A 91% rating from the film critic Rotten Tomatoes makes such claims as one of Bob's best, short but great fun, early Hope picture has charm, and entire cast hilarious in wild comedy, and that it is. I'll put the link to another wild comedy that Bob Hope did. I did it on my channel, a military comedy called Caught in the Draft from 1941. It also stars Dorothy Lamour. And our trivia question this week. In our film, did Martha Raye get into close quarters with something four-legged? In our film, did Martha Raye get into close quarters with something four-legged? So a little more history and the answer to our trivia question. Well, that's next. At the doctor's office, Bob Hope is getting x-rayed by an actual working x-ray machine, making the x-ray machine the subject of this week's history. So an X-ray is a form of high-energy electromagnetic radiation with a wavelength shorter than those of ultraviolet rays and longer than those of gamma rays. X-rays can penetrate many solid substances, such as construction materials and living tissue. X-rays were discovered in 1895 by Wilhelm Conrad Röntgen, who was a professor at Würzburg University in Germany. Working with a cathode ray tube in his laboratory, he observed a fluorescent glow of crystals on a table near his tube. The tube that he was working on consisted of glass envelope or tube with positive and negative electrodes encapsulated in it. The air in the tube was evacuated, and when a high voltage was applied, the tube produced a fluorescent glow. Röntgen shielded the tube with heavy black paper and discovered a green-colored fluorescent light generated by a material located a few feet from the tube. He concluded that a new type of ray was being emitted from the tube, capable of passing through the heavy paper covering and through most substances, casting shadows of solid objects. He also discovered that the ray could pass through the tissue of humans but not bones and metal objects. One of Röntgen's first experiments, late in 1895, was a film of the hand of his wife, Bertha. Röntgen's discovery was a scientific wonder and was received with extraordinary interest by both scientists and laymen. Newspapers and magazines of the day provided the public with numerous stories about the properties of the newly discovered rays. In June 1896, just 6 months later, X-rays were being used by battlefield physicians for wounded soldiers, and in 1913, the high vacuum X-ray tubes designed by William Coolidge became available. The high vacuum tubes were a reliable X-ray source, operating at energies up to 100,000 volts. In 1922, industrial radiography advanced with a 200,000 volt tube, and in 1931, General Electric Company developed 1 million volt X-ray generators, further opening the door to industrial acceptance and use. And for one hypochondriac. And the answer to our trivia question this week. In our film, did Martha Raye get into close quarters with something four-legged? She certainly did. Yes, in this film, a bear named Pal walked up to her and licks her face. The director and the trainer assured her that Pal was gentle and all she had to do was stay quiet. For the scene, Pal licked her face and took jelly beans out of her mouth, but never touched her. Later, during a session with a still photographer, Pal, standing on his hind legs, as he had done in the movie, lost his balance. His two forepaws swept across Martha, scratching both her arms. Ouch. I'd like to give a big thank you to my viewers and subscribers, and don't forget to click the link below to watch Never Say Die in its entirety. Thanks for watching, everyone. We'll see you soon.